Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a truly fascinating concept about what's actually holding you back in life. I mean, think about it for a second. Think about every dream you've ever given up on, every habit you just couldn't stick to, or, every single time you told yourself, I'll definitely start tomorrow. We tend to blame our circumstances, right? Our lack of time, or just the world outside. But the biggest obstacle blocking your path, it isn't out there. It is an invisible, incredibly powerful force entirely within yourself. And today, we're going to completely map out how this internal force works, and, absolutely most importantly, how you can finally conquer it.
So I want you to answer this honestly. Why do you keep restarting your life? Why do you plan a brand new habit every single Sunday only to completely abandon it by Wednesday? Why do you leave that job application open on your browser but literally never click submit? Or, why do you stay in a relationship or a career that leaves you feeling completely drained? We so often shame ourselves for this friction, don't we? We label it as laziness, or a lack of discipline, or just some fatal flaw in our character. But here's the thing the source material reveals, and it's a real game changer. This friction isn't laziness at all. It is self-sabotage.
There's this famous quote from Carl Jung that just completely hits the nail on the head here. He basically says, your unconscious mind will do absolutely anything to keep you inside what feels familiar, even if that familiar place is totally miserable. Think about that. Your unconscious mind associates familiar with safe. It will do quite literally anything to keep you in that familiar space, because your subconscious interprets any kind of change, yes, even positive change, as a profound danger. And this creates an invisible, immense pressure inside of you. It's built from unmet needs, suppressed emotions, and old fears. Over time, that pressure builds up and forms a massive internal mountain that just blocks your path forward.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that we need to completely redefine our understanding. Self-sabotage is not your enemy. It's really not. It is a protective subconscious mechanism reacting to old wounds. It's desperately trying to keep you safe from the perceived danger of change. It's kind of like a misguided, overprotective bodyguard. When you stop looking at your stalled progress as a sign of weakness and start seeing it as this misguided but completely natural protective mechanism, wow, the guilt just fades away. You finally open the door to understanding exactly how to dismantle this mountain you've built.
Moving on to Section 2, the blueprint. Let's look at the hidden cycle of self-sabotage.
All right, now that we know what self-sabotage actually is, we need to look at the hidden architecture that keeps it standing. Because those surface-level problems you might complain about, like hesitation, procrastination, overthinking, those are literally just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath those behaviors is this exact hidden loop. Step 1, you have a core emotional need or fear that goes completely unmet. Step 2, your subconscious creates a protective behavior to keep you safe from that fear. Step 3, ironically, that very protective behavior ends up sabotaging your actual progress. And then Step 4, that sabotage reinforces your old identity and strengthens the original fear. And then what happens? The loop just restarts. New job, same doubt. New relationship, same exact fear. The environment changes, sure, but the internal loop stays exactly the same.
What's truly fascinating about this is how it translates everyday behaviors into hidden emotional contracts. We call these unconscious commitments. For example, you might think you just have a problem with overworking. But beneath that, the hidden commitment might actually be a desperate attempt to avoid loneliness. Or maybe you see constant validation, but you're actually hiding a deep dissatisfaction with your life. You might even overspend just to create chaos, because honestly, it's the only way you know how to feel briefly alive. Your behaviors aren't random, not at all. They are emotional echoes trying to protect you. Which brings us to Section 3, the compass. It's time to talk about decoding your emotional signals.
So, to navigate this mountain and actually break that hidden loop, you have to tune into the emotional signals most of us have been actively taught to suppress since childhood, right? We're always told to calm down, be strong, or just move on. But when those suppressed emotions finally shout, we often completely misinterpret them. Notice the distinct difference here. We so often confuse our intuition with intrusive thoughts. Now, intuition, even when it's delivering a really hard truth, feels calm, clear, and stable. Intrusive thoughts, on the other hand, well, they're born from anxiety. They're loud, repetitive, and totally panicked. If you can't tell the difference between these two inner voices, you will end up making major life decisions based purely on panic rather than purpose. And we definitely don't want that.
And decoding those signals allows you to finally give yourself what you actually need. Because true self-care is foundational. It's not just the surface-level aesthetics you see all over the internet, the bubble baths and expensive face masks. It's getting enough sleep. It's building genuinely supportive relationships, and it's creating an environment where you actually feel emotionally safe. When these real foundational needs are met, self-sabotage literally loses its power over you because you no longer need it to feel safe.
Next up, Section 4, the climb. We need to talk about bracing for adjustment shock.
Okay, so you've mapped the mountain, you're reading your emotional compass, and you are finally ready to climb. But here's the catch. The moment you actually try to step out of your old patterns, your nervous system is going to generate massive biological pushback. Your mind will literally try to grab your hand and pull you right back into the old version of yourself. There's a scientific name for this. It's called homeostasis, or the adjustment shock. This is your nervous system's biological panic response to anything unfamiliar. Your brain loves stable routines and, believe it or not, stable problems. When you try to change, your system just freaks out. You feel anxiety, emotional exhaustion, and this overwhelming urge to just quit. But listen to me on this one. These feelings are not signs that you're failing or that you aren't ready. They are actual, literal proof that your brain is reorganizing itself. The discomfort is a signal that growth is actually happening.
So, how on earth do we bypass this biological alarm system? Well, we don't do it with massive overnight overhauls. We do it with what the source material calls micro-revolutions. I love that term. These are tiny, tiny steps, like leaving work just 10 minutes earlier, walking for literally 5 minutes a day, going to bed just 15 minutes earlier, saving $5 before you try to save $500, or maybe having just one honest conversation a week. These small, consistent steps sneak right past your brain's panic response. Because small steps build momentum, momentum builds identity, and a new identity builds lasting transformation.
Moving to Section 5, letting go. This is all about dropping the backpack of the past.
Now, even with all this great momentum, the climb is going to feel incredibly exhausting if you're carrying around the heavy backpack of your past. To climb higher, you have to metaphorically set down those outdated beliefs and unprocessed memories that have just been weighing you down for years. Society tells us to just move on, right? But forcing positivity only buries the weight deeper. You need to release who you pretended to be so you can finally become who you actually are. And letting go requires something kind of counterintuitive. You actually have to look back. You have to sit with the younger version of yourself, the one who carried the weight you never talked about, and offer them the compassion they never received. Acknowledging the shame and dropping the identities you build just to survive, that doesn't reopen the wound. It's actually the only way to finally close it.
Finally, Section 6, the summit, achieving true self-mastery.
When you finally drop that heavy backpack, the summit really comes into view. But here's the secret. The goal isn't some flawless state of perfection where you literally never feel fear again. No way. It's achieving true self-mastery. And the foundation of that mastery is understanding the vital difference between reacting emotionally and responding intentionally. Reacting is automatic, right? It's impulsive and driven entirely by your past programming. Responding intentionally, however, means pausing. It means acknowledging the emotion, whether it's anger, fear, sadness, and just naming it without any judgment whatsoever. It's just information. By pausing, you interrupt that automatic loop of self-sabotage, and you choose an action based on your values, not your panic. And let me tell you, every single time you do this, you build profound self-trust.
So I want to leave you with one final, really important question. When you're faced with a new challenge, a moment of friction, or a sudden wave of discomfort, I want you to stop asking, why is this happening to me? And instead ask, what strength is this shaping in me? Your fears are not setbacks. They are guides, showing you exactly where you are meant to evolve next. There is no final summit, for sure, but your life becomes deeply meaningful when you continually choose growth over fear. Take this question, use it as your true compass, and start your climb.